steam engines. We love steam engines. So, what started today's project is one of the 3-inch safeties we put on last week was not lifting as hard. It was lifting where it should, but not as hard as it should. So Chris is in there getting a different one. We're going to try it out today. We had what we thought was 2 broken stay bolts. Ended up being 5. So obviously the engine's pulled from service until they're fixed. So we're just getting around to peening the outside. Inside's already peened over and good to go. And oh, what else? 5 stay bolts. Oh, and then we figured whenever you pop a stay bolt and go to pull it out, they land right here in the bottom of the mud ring. So what you do is you pull the plugs out, wash them all to the corners, and you pull them out. Well, since we had 5 of them, one of which was a crown stay right up behind that injector, we decided we're pulling the plugs. Let's do a boiler wash. Why not? So just pulled them all, doing the boiler wash, which is already done. So we'll peen over the last couple stay bolts and then put a fire in it.
Okay, so kitchen.
So kitchen walls, you can't use like standard drywall because it could get wet and it can mold. So we need like that fiberglass wall or stainless steel or something that can get wet, get cleaned, and not mold.
And it can be washed.
And it can be washed. The guy with Lewis County works better if we have a plan and say, this is the layout, this is what I'm asking you, what do we need where? Because I know like stainless steel might be better as a splash board by seeing certain areas. What I'm actually more worried about is if we put ovens in the car, ventilation, what ventilation they would require out.
Well, so that car has actually got vents in it.
Okay.
So if we put the ovens and stuff down on the ends that had the air intakes and the vents for the big diesel engine that used to be in there,
Yeah.
I think that we could vent the car. We could make circulation inside the car pretty easy, but we can also just cut a hole in the side of it and put a big fan blowing stuff out of it.
Yeah, and then it's like, I know the guy at the LV gas station, they made him put certain vents above the cutting area because they thought like tomato juice will squirt like 8 feet up to the ceiling, and they made him put vents in and all that over the little commissary kitchen for scale boilers.
So what we're talking about right now, and Bethan's going to be involved in this conversation probably next week, is that what we are talking about is we're trying to plan out the next couple of years. The train that we are dealing with right now is kind of a leftover type of situation from old Mount Rainier Scenic of the past, and that the 901 and the 902 don't have bathrooms in them. They've been converted to be furnace areas. The concessions car is the bathrooms for the train, and it's working great. However, the concessions car requires to have somebody on board it, and just selling cookies and chips and drinks and stuff like that, the way he's got the gift shop set up now, the concessions car doesn't make the money that it used to make. So it's kind of turning into a dead revenue car. And we don't want to be hauling around a dead revenue car. We want any car we have on the train to have the ability to generate revenue. So the way this train is set up right now is we got the Mountain Dew, which is a non-generating car, and we got the concessions car, which has gotten to the point where it's a non-generating car. It's kind of more breaking even than it does.
For context, when I started last year, the gift shop would make $500, $600, $700, but the concession car would make $1,500. Now the gift shop makes $2,500 to $3,000, but the concession car only makes about $500. So that's where the transformation happens. So we're figuring out a transformation to go with the patterns.
Yeah. And then our experience offering is also going to change next year, where we're not going to be coming over here to Mineral. We're going to be going over to East Creek Junction, where the rail cycles are at, and there's going to be a gift shop there too. So we don't need to have what we got going on the train. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up putting the bathrooms back in the 901 and the 902, making them functional enough to where they can be used if the need arises, and taking the concessions car off the train. One of the other things we're running into is that because of how far away from the populace and civilization that we are, we don't have a good choice or offering of caterers to be able to provide food for things like our brunch train, if we wanted to do a dinner train, food for events, you know, the smorgasbord of what that could be. And the thing that hampers us from being able to have more of an offering on what we do for food and event food and that kind of thing is we don't have a commissary kitchen, and we don't have a food prep area. So the thing that we are looking at doing is, if we take the concessions car off the train, instead of it just sitting here taking up room in the yard, it already needs to be gutted because it's so old from the first time they did it. The floor is getting soft. It needs to be rebuilt as it is. The thing we're looking at doing is saying, okay, well, if we gut that car out, why don't we set it up as a food preparation area? So what do we have to do in that? We have to have stoves, ovens, you know, refrigerators, meal prep area. So that's kind of what we're talking over, because will that roll out in 2026? Probably not. Will it roll out in 2027? Probably so. So it's a long game plan for the future discussion, and for organizations and railroads to be successful, in my mind, you can't be talking about how you get through what's left of your year. You got to be talking about how you get through the next decade, and where do we want to be at the end of that next decade, and what we offer and what we don't offer. So 90% of the time, you've got food and alcohol involved. It makes money.
And having a commissary kitchen on site, not that we'll be cooking every day, it opens us up to a caterer from closer to the city areas to be able to come down and actually work with us more, because right now what kills it is the transport time. Mm-hmm. They only have so much time to transport food that's servable and all that before a dinner train or this and that, and having something on site helps that transport time and opens more doors for us to work with other people.
Yeah. And provide better food.
Yeah.
Because right now for us, the only things that work out is barbecue. You can't serve barbecue all the time. It's the, you know, if you have a big event here, you know, people get pretty tired with eating pulled pork and barbecue and brisket every single time. So yeah. In the past, this place had a dinner train. It was a good dinner train. But what made that dinner train work was that the food was prepped in Elby and then transferred to the train right before the dinner train left. So what we're looking at is, how do we repeat that? Because the dinner train, as it was ran here, the way it was ran here was, well, it made the people that put on the event very, very rich. So we're looking at how do we replicate that so that we can offer something other than just train rides. And when we offer our whiskey trains, wine trains, beer trains, whatever that might be, how can we elevate that experience? It's all about the experience. It's not about the folks that come up here They don't care what whistles on the locomotive. They don't care what horns on the diesel. They care about the experience which they are getting. And if you're offering a good experience that's catered towards them, you'll have more people than you know what to do with. If you have an experience that's catered towards the people that work here, then you're not going to have a good experience, because not everybody cares about, if there's a live band, if there's a steam engine, if there's a diesel, if there's a, that list can go down the board. But what everybody here is into.
Now, and as we expand more miles of track and get more track operational, it opens us up more for able to offer a longer ride with an experience on board. So while you're heading to the next scenic viewpoint on the line, you're eating a good meal, you're having something that's happening on the train, and then you get the bridges or the trestles or this viewpoint or that viewpoint. And overall, it's a great experience for the customer coming out from Seattle or Tacoma, who might not even have a huge interest in trains, but just enough to come out for the ride.
So that's what we're talking about. The New Reliance side of the railroad, people hate it. And I can see why people hate it. The steam engine's on the wrong end of the train when the steam engine's working. When the steam engine gets to the side of the train where all the people can experience it, we're just going downhill. The only part that it gets any kind of scenic value is in Botcher's Farm. You can't see the damn mountain through all the freaking trees, even where we know the mountain is. It's like we talked about before. The money-making part of going that direction is until you get after it.
Yeah, it's where it opens up and you really can see the mountain. Yeah. And this is where I said we almost need to create a scenic railroad, how to run a scenic railroad guidebook for ourselves. Yeah. And have these notes in mind for when we plan that. Here's a mountain viewpoint. Yeah. Here's
the experience needs to meet three main factors. Maybe more, maybe less. One, the folks on board got to be getting some wow value out of it.
Yep.
Now that wow value can come from the locomotive working up a grade, going across a big ass trestle, a good view of the mountain. We have to kind of sit down and say, what is that wow value?
Yeah.
New Reliance doesn't have any of that. It doesn't have railroad crossings to go over where they hear the whistle. It doesn't have a 3% grade to 28-degree curving. It doesn't have, on paper, it looked like a good move because it was, okay, well, we're going to be able to run more efficiently. We're going to be able to have more cars on the train. And, we're going to be able to get more bang for our buck in a 12-hour period that we have the crew on duty and the locomotive fired up.
Yeah.
But the New Reliance side of that seems to be backfired.
Yeah, it's not getting the bang that we thought to make it all worth it. And we know that, again, the highlights of that route are past New Reliance, where we still have to put in ties, we still have to do some work. There's scenic overviews of the mountain, and then shortly past there's the Michelle River bridges, and that's what we need to get to for that route to be a scenic route.
There's a spot where the railroad is literally clinging to a rock cliff, and on one side it's a sheer rock face, and on the other side, after it gets logged, it's a view of the Olympic Mountains. So, but the wow factor on that side of the railroad isn't until we get past that. Yeah. The good thing about this side of the railroad is that you get wow factor from LB basically all the way to Morton.
Yeah.
So,
in the first 10 minutes, halfway through the ride, you're crossing the river and starting to see the mountain and more stuff like that than you do the other way.
Yeah. You don't see anything until you're halfway through the trip, and then you go through a farmer's field, and then you're back in the trees again.
Yeah.
So that's where it backfired on us. So on paper, what it looks like on paper won't necessarily translate into a good customer experience. We looked at it from a business perspective of how to get more bang for our buck out of the 12 hours we have a crew and the 12 hours we have the locomotive fired up. And in that, we lost a little bit of the connection with the customer and saying, what does the customer want? We thought the customers just wanted an hour and 15, hour and a half long train ride, take the kids out and that kind of thing. No, apparently they want it. So what we're talking about, and again, Bethan's going to be in this conversation here very soon. She's either going to be down tomorrow and Friday, but then next week we're going to probably have a real sit down where we discuss all of this. Is what is the experience that folks want? So what we've done is we've leaned hard into going back in time at Mount Rainier Scenic Railroad and saying, where did the railroad do the best? And what we found is, it seems like the railroad has done the best between the years of 1986 and 1994. And it was a very simple, you got on the train, you went 30 minutes, you went to Mineral Lake. We've lost the ability to go to Mineral Lake because we were forced to rip the loop up. You got off the train for 15, 20 minutes. There was live music, there was a concession stand, there was other things to do, and then you got back on the train and came back to Elby. It ended up being about an hour and a half long run altogether. So we have East Creek Junction, which is being developed for the rail cycles. East Creek Junction is right on the edge of Mineral. So what we've thought is, well, why don't we run over to East Creek Junction? And, you know, it'd be kind of like what you brought up with Cal Western, that it's a North Spur situation where the train goes, you can get off the train, go to a concession stand, ice cream, whatever the hell ever it is. But then you have the ability to get off the train and go for a rail cycle ride if you want. And, you know, the experience from that, from all directions, kind of looks like it meets the wow factor a little bit.
And at East Creek, you can see the mountain. You're in the forest with the trees just outside of Mineral. It's just a nice little quiet location.
So, and then if you want to stay in Mineral, you can stay in Mineral and go paddleboard on the lake or kayak or go down into town. I wish town had a little bit more to offer other than the bar and the gas station, the store anyway. And the country store, I guess, if they lean into the country store idea of it, it'd be a good experience for folks.
But we can also, there's a lot of Airbnbs and the Mineral Lake Campground. It offers those people staying at this end of the railroad a chance to get on the train here and ride up to Elby, go into the little market across the street, grab some ice cream as well. And then when the train's ready to depart Elby, they can come back too, without having to drive to where they already were driving through to just ride the train back here. It gives them a little more in town to do. Not that that side of the railroad would be great, but it will be offered. And then at East Creek, all the buildings are based off the West Fork building right here. And what I've done is I've created several different floor plan ideas for that building already, based on where if we were to put one at East Creek, this could work here, put another similar one at somewhere else. Same floor plan with slight modifications to offer hot dogs and food service and meet all the health department requirements, as well as a gift shop and all that. It's all laid out. It's just getting it in place. And that way we can have basically a plug and play plan all the way down the railroad. Even though Polo Car Bar fits into all those buildings well. So you could use the same refrigerator, same 3 basing, same plan for everything. You just modify it slightly. Instead of a bar serving charcuterie and sodas and drinks on the Polo Car, you use the fridge to serve other sodas and a hot dog machine on top type deal.
So that's where he's doing really good with with his side of things is that he's looking forward far enough to be able to say, okay, I can copy and paste this anywhere we want to go on the railroad. And the reason why we went with having these buildings built is because you can drop one anywhere on the railroad, and it ties in a theme. One of the things that Bethan and I have had long talks about is that we want Mount Rainier Scenic Railroad to look like it was locked into a period of time. And it's kind of like you go to Colonial Williamsburg and you walk down the main drag, you step back to Colonial Williamsburg. You're in the 1770s, 1780s, 1790s. It has that look. Now you go around behind the building, you're gonna find a Prius or a Tesla plugged into the garage. But you go in the front, it looks like it's set in a period of time. One thing we've noticed is a lot of these folks that come to this area, they are looking for that slice of Americana. And Americana for a lot of the rest of the world is 1945 to about 1955, right after World War II, when our economy was booming and we were the best thing on the planet. And so that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to position to where it just looked like Mount Rainier Scenic Railroad never came out of the 1940s. So the steam locomotives, the passenger cars, the buildings. I mean, the building that's being built is a carbon copy of this building. It's not built like a modern building would be. It is built exactly the way one of these buildings would be built. So
it's basically doing what they did with log camps back in the day, which is making them little tourist stops with that log camp look. But it's just plug and play and plug and play.
I know Bethan's already started playing with it, which is scary all in itself. What I'm hopeful is that we can keep the rail cycles down until June. And I don't really want to start doing the let people off at East Creek thing until June.
Okay.
Just, if we're going to go for train rides from January till end of May, we're just doing hour and a half, hour, 20 minute, 15, whatever train rides, so that we don't have to have staff at East Creek for no reason.
Yeah.
And kind of looking back through the info that we got for this year, because we cannot use last year as usable data.
No, it's all going to change.
Because last year in 2023 was an enigma that, we were running at 98% capacity all the time. That's not good data to use. That's great for the balance sheet. That's great for the P&L, but it's not good data to use because these things go through these swings. Last year, we were at the tail end of the post-COVID boom, where there was just, if you had a train ride, people were on it. Okay, they were looking at getting out and doing something. We've lost a lot of foreign tourism this year. Politics. The economy sucks. Politics. The folks aren't going out and planning to do stuff as far ahead as they have been. They're waiting until they know that they're going to go do it, and then they go do it. We've been making a lot more walk-ups this year.
I mean, we will have a train that has 50 people on it for Friday, and then it's 50 people when I leave work on Thursday at 6 p.m. and then it's 150 by Friday morning.
Yeah.
And there's no way to plan for it because it doesn't happen in any concise way. Sometimes it's the 11 a.m., sometimes it's the 3 p.m., sometimes it's the 1 p.m. It is all over the place this year. Everything's doing good, but it's all over the place on what will sell out, how it would sell out. And even if you're up in this area and if you were up here last year, you will see the change because this year I don't think the line even into the national park has reached an hour-long wait.
Oh.
But last year it was a 2-hour-long wait, minimal in the height of the summer.
Yeah. So going off of what this year has told us, and we try to use that for next year, we're not going to have ball banging numbers.
No.
And I mean, I know when I initially laid out next year, I laid it out where we did the same thing we did this year. We ran every weekend in May.
Yeah.
And I went back to every other week. And
Okay.
because I think we'll do better every other weekend than we did every weekend.
It'll give us a little more time to prepare for June.
Yeah. So May, I mean, this is where we're going to have to put all of our thinking caps on next week. Between May and October, instead of doing what we did this year, where we slammed all the event trains right after one after another, I got them every other week.
Yeah. No, right now my margin of error for an event train is so small with how much time I have in a week that I have to make sure I pick up the food on Wednesday, I do this on Thursday, I do this on Friday, we have the event on Saturday. Your food for next week's already ordered before the event this week, and it's a plug and play, but there's no, if I run low on whiskey, I have to spend a whole nother day rearranging my schedule to go get stuff.
Yeah.
It's a very small margin of error doing it, and that's pretty much for those folks listening. When we do our whiskey trains, I go pick up all the whiskey at the distilleries myself, and sometimes that means an hour and a half of driving one way away from the railroad on top of my hour drive down from my home in Tacoma, which I'm more than willing to do, but it all takes time. And so what we learned this year is doing it every other week. Like I said, there is no margin of error. I need to strictly be on top of things and also run the railroad on the customer service side and make sure to give shop stock and all the stuff I do on a regular basis as well.
Yeah. So the problem in that is that when you wind up with you have to cancel the train for 2 days. Right after you spent 3 days dealing with canceling rail cycles, there's a lot of stuff that can get piled up on top, and then the ability to go and make sure that the event is set up for the weekend is just gone. You got one too many things happening right on top of each other. So what I did was I spread it out between May and October.
Yeah.
Every other week there's an event. And what I figured is that because the way the state is making us do the event here, to me that's a big hassle.
Yeah.
So
It's slowly taking away from the experience.
Yeah.
For context is, because the way our whiskey trains work, it's classified as a beer garden. So we have to rope off a whole section of the museum and make sure there's no gaps, which means we actually have to rope off this whole platform away from the train. So we actually have been told we have to keep people away from the train because they don't want the platform as part of the beer garden.
let me show you why. Come this way. The state thinks that people can get through there. Because when they look at this place from Google Maps, they see the gaps in between the cars, and they think that people can get through there. So we have to rope off the entire platform so that no one can go between the cars, even though I don't think anybody's going to want to go through there.
And this is after we sent them pictures of that specifically.
They don't allow us to, before, when we did an event, we'd have all the buildings open, all the displays open, everything open so that people could go and look at the other locomotives and all that stuff. Not allowed to do that anymore. Yeah. We have to keep them all contained over here in this one little place.
Yeah, because going in the buildings takes away from the beer garden aspect and what they classify the special event as. Even as we put exhibits and all that back into buildings, we wouldn't be able to let you view them during the whiskey events. So we're changing up the whole idea so we can actually offer a better experience as we move forward. Yeah.
So the train, moving it all on board the train is probably going to be the best thing.
And people will people actually kind of expect that.
I think people
anyways,
expect
yeah.
that. I noticed that in the last whiskey train. There were a lot of people that were kind of doing the.
Oh,
we thought we were
got
going to
off.
be on the train. Oh, we got off. Oh, we got on the train and had to wait a half of an hour before we could start to actually drink. And then we only got to drink for an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes. And then they put us back on the train and made us dump all of our drinks out so that we could go back on the train. 'Cause our problem is we run between 2 counties. So the event is licensed in Lewis County. So folks can drink on the train until they hit the county line, and then it's boop, because the event's not licensed in Pierce County. When we set these things up in this state, we have to set them up county by county wherever we are going. And there was once upon a time we were looking at doing one of these events for a neighbor on a neighboring short line, which ran between Lewis, Thurston, and Pierce. And oh my God, the administrative nightmare that was just, we didn't want to do it afterwards.
Yeah, at least on the health department side, food-wise, they're actually very easy to work with now, because I spent many days this past winter at the health department in Lewis County, kind of laying out a future plan. You know, they were used to someone coming in saying, hey, we're doing this tomorrow, where I came in, we're doing this over the next 5 years. And here's it all laid out, where I had all of his questions answered already, from basically my experience working on other railroads and knowing what I've been asked in the past and all that, and saying, hey, this is what we want to do. I have to spend that time this winter with the state's liquor and alcohol boards and do the same thing, so they kind of get a better understanding what truly we're trying to do here.
So that's that. It talks about the future.
Yay.